Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. We are the weirdos, mister.
Black as night, erase death from our sight. White as light, mighty hectate make it right. I myself am strange and unusual.
Cast a circle, spark some incense, and grab a cup of tea because it's time for the Cousins Coven podcast. I'm Sharon.
And this is Wendy. Welcome back to the Coven, you guys. So this is part 2 of the Major Arcana. We don't really have a news or catch up at this point because we recorded this all in one episode. So we're just going to dig right in. And so we recorded this in one setting. And so you're just going to hear us pop right into that next thing.
Yes, we had no idea going into this that we would take 2 hours to talk about the Major Arcana, but, you know, it doesn't surprise me at the end of the day.
Exactly.
So hopefully you guys enjoy this 2-parter episode.
And thanks for joining us. Okay, so it looks like we're moving on to 8, Strength.
I'm loving your artwork on yours.
Isn't it
so
beautiful?
Much.
Lots of boobs in mine.
Love it.
I always have to be careful using them around children.
Boobies! That's all they're going to focus on.
Yeah. Teenage boys are like, I need to borrow this. Such beautiful women in the Strength card. So that's kind of one of my favorite parts is that you're always going to see a card with a woman and a lion. They're either going to be in water or with water. I noticed that yours doesn't have the water element. It's
right?
kind of
Missing
strange.
that.
Every card that I've ever looked at seemed like it had a water element, which is weird, right?
I guess that just goes to show you, man, artist interpretation.
Yeah, for sure.
So my lion and my chick are just in a field of grass.
Mm-hmm. Mine has the 2 lions. Anyways, I'm so sorry. Basically, the Strength card is to provide you courage, power, and strength. It may symbolize that maybe some of your problems are coming to an end. It's also a positive card, like if you've been sick or if you have received results for an illness, it means that you're going to have the strength to overcome that sickness. Maybe you're worried about a relative who has also been sick and you're doing a reading to see how they're going to do. If you get the Strength card, it means that they're going to pull through.
I didn't realize it was tied to physical health.
Mm-hmm. It could be tied to physical health. It can also be a representation of the strength, giving you the strength to move forward or move on from a situation that's going on in your life. Some of the common symbols when you have strength could be law, just kind of like the Justice card. Could also be truth, fairness, or like a cause and effect. So like if you do one thing, you're going to have the strength to get through to that other side. Mm-hmm. Some attributions would be Leo and fire. And yeah, so just this strong woman in the picture. Sorry, that was my dog.
She's trying to break in the office.
Yeah, she's like, come on, Mom, I need you. Yeah, so just when I look at my card, I always think there's just this woman and she's taming a lion and she's just
she has control.
Yeah, total control of her life and herself.
Compassion, love. Mm-hmm. And like that's what I like about this. There's so many things I have to say about the Strength card because like you can see this woman, she's taming the beast with compassion and love. Mm-hmm. She's not taming the beast by chopping off its head.
Right.
This could have so easily been a knight with armor and like a sword, like a burly man being strength. They chose a woman.
Right.
Pretty much in all tarot cards, I would think this is a woman. That's what I've seen.
Yes.
Obviously, they're not all the same here.
Mm-hmm. But
like the fact that it is a beautiful maiden with a beast and that represents strength, I feel like this is the energy I really want to rock with this year is that I can be strong and, you know, tame that lion.
Right. With kindness.
Yeah.
I mean, how many wars would we have solved if it was just done with kindness?
With naked chicks and boobies.
That's right.
And kindness.
My goodness, the 60s was correct.
Yeah.
Like, love.
Not war. Yes.
Okay, who do we have next?
So we're going to move on to the Hermit card.
Whenever I see the Hermit card, I always think of my dad. Like, he's a little bit of a hermit.
Really?
Yeah.
That is sweet, and I can see that. I feel like the Hermit card came up a lot in readings with some girlfriends. So shout out to Vinny. I feel like this always came out in readings with you. So the Hermit card here. Let me break this down. I'm getting distracted looking at all this beautiful artwork. It's kind of like what I would think Gandalf with a staff and a lantern being a badass.
He's in a circle.
Yeah, yours is in a circle, a serpent circle. So, with my notes here, so earlier I talked about how the Hierophant, he was like a religious man and he worked with the divine word. The Hermit is working with divine work. He's putting the work and the effort in, not just speaking the divine. He is working for the divine. And so in Buddhist thought, it is possible to reach enlightenment and then choose to stay incarnated for all of your subsequent lifetimes, instead of the theory that usually once you reach enlightenment, you would reach nirvana and, be happy, whatever.
Live in the heaven.
Yeah, so the Hermit is kind of representing this man who's putting all this work and he has such enlightenment, but he chooses to stay on earth and sharing it with others. And he does this by using his own inner light to shine out for others to see. His own spiritual experience, his actions, they act as a beacon for others. And spiritual self-growth is work that can only be done in silence and in the internal darkness or depths of the soul. So that's why he's kind of represented as a loner, someone on the outskirts, someone who's alone.
My dad.
Yeah, all that solitary work that he's doing to make himself better, he has to do that alone. So he is a card of silence, solitude, reflection. And wisdom is really shown constantly within us. I feel like this is something we talk about a lot in Magical Workings and Podcasts and Divination. But we must tune into that, basically that channel, that inner voice. And you have to be doing this with quiet self-reflection. And this will illuminate ourselves from within. So symbols you're going to see on the Hermit, the lantern, that's showing his light, his beacon, his spiritual wisdom shining for others to see in the darkness. He's solitude. He's alone. The journey within can only be completed alone. You can't be partying and drinking and smoking and being around others. You're constantly trying to talk to others. You're not really listening to your soul, to your spirit guides, to yourself, to your desires. That's something that you can only do by yourself, maybe meditating. And sometimes in the card you're going to see a mountain. I feel like that's not really prominent in our cards, but I have seen that before, where the Hermit could be standing up high, and this kind of indicates his lofty spiritual achievement. He's not being a jerk about it, saying he's better, but that's just to represent his spiritual journey, really. He's on top of that mountain. And because there's a lot of earthly elements going on here, Earth is the element of this card, and the astrological sign is Virgo.
So Virgo is September, right?
I'm really bad at this. I don't remember.
I think it's September, and my dad was born in September. Maybe that's why I've always associated. I mean, my dad is this card.
Is it Virgo? I'm really bad. I can't even tell you.
We'll
double check.
Yeah.
But you probably are right. And this I'm going to segue into this while you look up this. One of my monthly goals for the podcast of 2020 is to use that monthly astrological sign, and maybe we'll talk about that sign. That way, you're correct. September 23rd is
my dad was born the 22nd.
Yay! Yeah. So yeah, you're totally right. I doubted you. I was like, I just don't know. But I need to teach myself more about other astrology signs. I'm constantly spewing Pisces, but I really want to learn everybody else's. So each month of this year podcasting, we're going to take a moment to talk about that month's astrological sign.
Oh, shoot.
Learn about it.
Remind me when we're done with this episode about, I have a book in my closet sitting right here with every birthday that you could ever think of that has every symbol in it.
Perfect. So we could use that, really.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I'll be learning more about the astrology symbols 2020 goals. But I really love the Hermit, and that's something that resonates with me.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot through yoga and meditation, and that is just something I never expected. That quiet self-reflection time is super important.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can have that in a group of others if you're all just being quiet and breathing and doing yoga. You know what I mean? Or just sitting at home meditating like you do.
Yeah, I do that a lot.
Yeah.
They're like, what are you doing today? I'm like, meditating. Is that cool with you?
Yeah.
You can come join me. Okay, so number 10 is the Wheel of Fortune. I just have to look at it really quick. There's so many symbols.
Yeah, the Rider-Waite has a lot going on. It's almost not even aesthetically pleasing.
Right.
There's just like a little devil, a
Yeah.
little snake, and there's all these little animals. I like that yours has kind of simplified it. This is kind of a prettier wheel. It shows all the...
It's got those symbols again of the blue, the air, and the fire. So, with the common appearance, you're almost, I mean, because it's called the Wheel of Fortune, you're always going to have a wheel, and it'll have some sort of old symbols on there. So I don't know, do you know what language this is? Or
I thought that was more Kabbalah.
Yeah, I think it is too. So you're going to see these Kabbalistic symbols on there.
We have the exact same symbols in the middle as well, and I don't,
right.
That looks like...
It's the Wheel of Fortune is what this is. This disc is the Wheel of Fortune.
Great, okay.
And so you'll always see that Wheel of Fortune disc in some form, I think, on your card. You should always have most likely a dog, a sphinx, and an ape on there as well. I think I should have looked up to see what that represented, but so it was the dog, the ape. I see that yours also has an angel.
A bowl.
There's just so many different things. There's like this little devil with his little penis hanging out. Oh my god. Okay, so
he's flaccid. Be nice.
Oh, sorry. So like mine has this dog with ape legs. So he's got.
When I do have like an app, Galaxy Tarot, and like if I click on the Wheel of Fortune, it'll tell me what each of these guys means.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah.
That's awesome. So the Wheel of Fortune kind of represents that changes are coming into your life, and it's also a symbolism of good luck. And the wheel could also represent the cycles of your life. So as we're aging and changing, that is a cycle. So we go from baby to walking to talking, and then moving on into all the different puberty crap, and so on and so forth. And so it just kind of represents that. It could also be a wheel of destiny. You can also see it as a turning point in your life, where sometimes fate is up to chance. It's kind of like anything can happen. Like you're spinning this wheel and you don't know what you're going to get. So you could come out with $1,000, or you can go down a different path. So I think it all depends on the surrounding cards.
Yeah, of course.
But it typically is a sign of good luck. Some common symbolism would be, like I said earlier, the life cycles, that good luck, a turning point, destiny, or even karma in itself, because karma will help depend on which way the wheel is going to land. So, if you've lived a good, had some good karma coming out, then that should reflect on which way. Should work in your favor. So I also found that the attribution there were 3 of them. It's going to be Jupiter, Libra, and Air.
Nice. I love that you got a planet in there.
Yeah. So it could be all 3.
I kind of can see too the symbolisms of the Wiccan Wheel of the Year kind of being put into this as well. Like, I'm always thinking as the wheel changing and the seasons changing and life changing. So wheels are definitely a big symbol in the occult, and you could probably look at it and interpret it so many ways to represent life.
Right. One thing that my book has that I didn't put in here, which I kind of wish that I would have, is that each card is a calculation of time. So like the universe or the Wheel of Fortune card will represent 12 years.
Dang!
So a lot of times if I get this, it's like it could be a period of 12 years that this is going to be happen, or you've gone through 12 years worth of crap and your path is changing. So it could represent that. Or it could also be time periods. Like earlier we had the Chariot. That could represent a time period between June and July. This is when you're going to have these issues going on in your life. So there's all these things. Yeah, there's all these different things that you can use
and utilize.
Yeah. And I totally forgot all about that. Kind of wish I would have put that.
I've always heard that that tarot cards are so specific that they are associated with time frames. I haven't ever seen that chart. So, man, when I'm trying to do my readings, I'm just trying to get through a month. I don't have 12 years.
You're like, oh my gosh, for the next 12 years, I've got to deal with this.
Yeah, I can't. I don't have a 5-year plan. In interviews, what do you plan for the next 5 years? I don't know. I don't know. Podcasting?
My life is witchery.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to card 11, Justice. So usually in the Justice card, you're going to see a figure presiding over maybe scales, swords, and those are the scales of balance. And the sword can represent a sharp and exact instrument, which could be considered maybe swift and cruel action. The scales are here to represent balance, judgment, and the astrological sign of Libra. And we did talk about this, I think, last 2 episodes ago in Egyptian magic. There's sometimes on the scales a feather and a heart. Our cards don't have that, but apparently that can be something that they're weighing on the scales. And in Egyptian myth, after death, the heart would be weighed against the feather, and if the heart was heavier, the deceased soul was weighed down by sin or sorrow, and so the mythology was that they'd be devoured by Sebek.
I always thought that a heart would weigh more than a feather. A feather is so light like air. So
so we're all sinners.
I mean, some people think that.
Yeah, right. A lot of times you'll see like maybe a blindfold. Yours does have a mask, but there are eye holes here, and that's just to kind of show you that justice is objective. Kind of like that humanly saying, we say justice is blind, but there's also this nature saying that nature is red in tooth and claw, which I would think bloody, harsh. Nature's a little bit more of a harsher judge on our actions. And justice refers not only to the worldly laws like court and things like that, but it's also the laws of nature. So karma, balance, trial and effect, reward or punishment, truth, and cosmic balance. And what else do I have here? So it's not always going to signify balance in the sense of two things being equal or balancing each other out, but in a sense of the natural flow of the universe working around us. So I feel like this is kind of a heavier card, and sometimes it's hard for me to understand. One I have to meditate more with, but what do you feel about justice?
So justice, that just really makes sense to me, especially that cause and effect kind of thing that you were mentioning. It's like, okay, if I'm going to create balance, so all these good things have happened to me, something bad has to happen to even it out, because that's how our world works.
Yeah, for every action there's a reaction.
Right. So very interesting. Yeah, I like that my card does have the eye holes, because it's almost like she's seeing through the blindness.
And she has feathers on her dress, the person who's holding the scales. So maybe she did pass that whole feather heart trial.
Right.
And so it's kind of attributing to that she's light as a feather.
I think it's interesting, too. I like the color symbolism. So we're going to have these yellows, these reds, and these greens. This makes me think that I need to figure out what these colors mean. What do all the colors mean in magic and in tarot reading? So I'm sure that there is something out there in one of these books that we have that says that, but I didn't really look into that.
Yeah, all my color correspondences are very Wiccan based and candle based, so for that it'd be like green is prosperity, but is that the same across the board,
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
An attribute with this justice card would be the element of fire and the planet Pluto.
Sweet. Nice. See, Pluto is a planet, man.
Pluto's a planet!
Yeah. So what do we have next? Our Hanged Man.
Ooh, yours got some balls.
I know. He's like hanging upside down. His balls are not all the way up to his chin, which
and
is
his
great.
Balls are defying gravity.
Yeah.
They're not hanging down.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, they're just suspended. And mine has like this, the tree is a man.
That's cool.
So he's hanging off of a man bot. See how there's this robot kind of man back there.
Yeah, so they're similar in posture, that the hanged man is usually going to be a guy hanging upside down by one foot.
Right, so just by one foot with his hands bound either over his head or behind his back. And so meaning his hands are tied in the situation. So it's basically to symbolize kind of a time of letting go, and that you need to take on a new way of thinking, and that you're in a period where you're transitioning into something else, and then you might have to make sacrifices in order to get to where you're going. Meaning you might lose a job, your relationship might end, you You might end friendships, or something in your life has to end in order to move on.
That's relatable.
Right? But in order to move on in your life, you have to make these kind of self-sacrifices. Let's see, some common symbols too would be like a trance-like state. So when I was looking at that, it meant that you were contemplating what was going on in your life, and seeing what does need to be cut out of your life in order to move on.
I like that.
And that maybe you have to reverse something in your life too. Maybe you need to bring something back. So something that you've cut out of your life, maybe you need to bring back into your life.
It's kind of like, I would think, maybe a scary card to get in a reading, in the sense that it might not be the information you want to hear, like, oh, I need a new path. But maybe it's just the right message you need to shake things up and move past the blockages.
Right. And it's also a time to symbolize like withdrawal. So maybe a lot of people are withdrawing into themselves when they get this card. So you have that contemplation that you need to do inside. So depending on the cards that you get around it would suggest what you need to contemplate and what you need to work on. And what you might need to let go of or bring back. Maybe you've let go of meditating every day and you need to bring that back into your life in order to get...
I feel like you're talking to me right now. Do you guys...
Oh my god, no! This is your card now.
That was my resolution of 2019. Let me just say, y'all, I failed.
I'll be excited to open my jar because I think a lot of mine had to do with spiritualism and leveling up, and I think that I achieved a lot of that. So I'm excited to see what's in my jar.
Okay, so we're moving on.
Look at our cards. This one's one of my favorite images. Look at how beautiful it is.
What? Okay, I'm looking at 13 Death, which was probably the scariest card. There's like dead bodies. And...
I know, but it's so beautiful at the same time. Look at all the colors they use, which is different. This is the first card we've had that's different in colors. Yours is yellows, whites, and blues, and mine is white, red, yellow, green.
Yeah, yours is more like a party of death, and mine's more somber.
Maybe that's why I thought it was beautiful.
I love you for saying that. This is why we get along so well, that you would look at death and see beauty, and that's what makes you a great witch, you know? Death is a part of nature, man. It's not something to be so freaking feared, but, you know, it's scary.
Right.
So let's break this card down. Death is symbolizing the final stage of a metamorphosis, transformation, and endings. In a physical sense, everything on Earth will meet the end. And a fun little fact that I found in my tarot book is that every second our cells are breaking down and being replaced by new ones. In a 7-year period, our entire body has swapped every cell, and we are biologically not the same. You know, we're constantly going through metamorphosis, physically, mentally, on all levels. And death and decay are a necessity. It's a part of life to ensure stability, prevent overpopulation, a strain on resources, or a strain with too much waste. Death is a part of life, people. The decay of animals and plants is an essential part of getting fossil fuels and fertilization within the plants. So it's really just a stage of all of life. And in the metaphorical sense, death is necessary throughout our lives to initiate change and evolution. So this card might seem really scary, and you might be like, holy shit, am I going to die tomorrow? No, that's not what this card is saying. It could be a stage in your life or just a state of mind. So many things could just be coming to a death period.
Right. Although I have had it in readings where I have predicted death before.
Okay, that's really sad and deep and heavy, and damn.
It's happened to me 3 times.
Are you kidding me?
Not kidding you. But I never ever thought of the death card as an actual physical death until I started, you know, when I would do the reading and then I would have a vision of the death occurring. And so that's how it would happen for me.
I'm just a little shooketh because it's just so hard to see that in loved ones, I'm sure.
And I had to step away from tarot for a while because when it happened the first time I was like, that kind of shook me a little bit. When it happened the second time, I was terrified. And then when it happened the third time, I stepped back away from tarot because I was afraid of what I could do.
So much to unpack right now with that. I feel like I have to take a little break from my
so
notes.
Sorry.
Because that's really important, you know. And wow. So the fact that you're still able to see this death card and see beauty, that is why you are such a fucking badass witch. You were able to step back into tarot. And it's like, some people, I think there's this fear of gaining occult knowledge, and that if you mess with these things, bad things will happen to you.
Right.
I don't think that's what was happening in your case.
No,
you were
no.
just getting messages and channeling truths.
Right.
It was going to happen regardless of the reading or not. But to be faced with that knowledge in a reading.
Right. It was like it was giving me a warning that it was going to happen so I could deal with it, but it was like still really difficult.
Wow. You're so incredible that you could
you.
see this beauty after all that.
Right.
I'm sure that's a really personal story we're not
It
going to
is.
unpack here today.
Yeah, no.
But wow.
Yeah.
Wow, guys. So when we're looking at not just the physical act of death, which this card, as we just heard, can mean, a death of a various stage in one's life, like maybe the end of a childhood to adulthood, ending in a job that we no longer want to open up opportunities for better change. Maybe you're ending a stale or destructive relationship, ending emotional pain, and really freeing yourself. So sometimes endings can be really welcomed, and sometimes not all endings are welcome. But the key about endings is that we have to view them as opening up new opportunities, removing obstacles and blockages, and we can work with the changes and make the most of them. And that's been something I've been really learning.
Love it.
So common symbols in the death card are going to be...
this. Okay.
Common symbols in the death card is going to be a Grim Reaper, which both of ours is just a dude in skeletal dude.
Right.
Yours looks like he's really having a good time.
He's having a party.
Mine's just on a white pale horse. So, and I did find out that the Grim Reaper is, the personification of the forces of death, and this is a common symbol in really all cultures. So I feel like this was something I added to our podcast list. Let's look up the Grim Reaper and try to figure out his history. But a lot of times he'll be holding a scythe, and that's death's traditional weapon, which is also used in farming to cut down larger crops so that they may be harvested. The death of crops is really necessary for further survival and cultivation. So again, this necessity thing, it's really coming back. There's also dead bodies all over this card. Both of our cards have it.
Right.
Yours is like heads, limbs, baby wombs.
Yeah, yours is a little more tasteful, I suppose. Because even this girl, she's just kind of passed out, and she almost looks like she's got blood on her hands.
Yeah, and one thing that I didn't notice until I read in my book is that the dead figures on both of our cards, you can see they're all different kinds of classes of society. We've got kings with crowns. We've got just common folk, children. And that's just reminding you, death comes to all.
Right.
Everyone. And this card is attributed to Scorpio and water. And your card actually has a scorpion, and I love that.
Yeah, yours has a lot of
water.
water.
So this is a really heavy card. Don't always fear it in a reading, but what would you say?
So... it's hard for me because I've had a lot of bad connotations, but at the same time, like, this dude really is partying, and he does have, like, on mine, he's got a snake tail. There's a lot of snakes in my cards. I don't know if you noticed that, just to kind of represent that other side. Snakes have this weird property. They can shed their skin, they can grow, they're
really linked to magic.
Right.
As well, and the divine energies and knowledge. And some religions might have made us feel like that knowledge is evil, but us witches love knowledge. Yes. Give us more knowledge.
More knowledge. I need to learn and grow.
Yeah.
But I'm not afraid of this card because it can symbolize that you're moving on. A lot of times in the death card, it's like, because I have had it with people that are just ending a section in their life, and I'm like, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of this card. Don't think it symbolizes that you're going to die today. It just means that there's some sort of growth and change that's happening in your life. You may not like it at first. You may be like, fuck, I'm not going to deal with this.
Yeah.
But you need to deal with it because all changes happen to everybody. You don't know what's going to happen in any given moment. Even when you're a psychic, you don't know. There are things that could just totally blindside you that you don't know about. Right. And that's kind of, to me, what this death card represents is something's going to come or something has come and it's going to change it.
Right.
Your life has changed.
And I mean, if we're saying that the Major Arcana is dealing with the Fool's journey, with life, death is a part of life.
Right,
Sadness,
it's a journey.
hardships are a part of life.
Right.
So they come up in tarot readings, but you become transformed and stronger from it.
Right.
You know?
Even with the loss of a family member or a friend, you can still grow from that. It may not be what you wanted, but it just happens.
And like for us people left on Earth, it's a lot harder to deal with, but I think about what their journey is on the other side.
Right.
I believe in the paranormal. I'm
Right.
communing with people on the other side in our family from time to time, and so I look at that process. It is a metamorphosis.
Right.
They're just somewhere else.
Yeah, they're just growing in a different manner now.
Yeah.
We don't know. We don't know what it holds because I feel like even everybody's death process is different than what we know. So one person may be still left here on Earth, haunting. One person may be moving on to another plane of existence. We don't know.
Yeah. The back
all
half
different.
of these tarot cards get a little heavy. So
Yeah.
here we go.
Now we get to move on to 14 Temperance.
Okay.
Now, with my deck, you actually have to pull the next 2 cards because I have 2 Temperance in there, and I'll explain that.
I love when they give you options.
So, with me, Temperance in the Golden Dawn deck is done on purpose. I remember the first time that I saw it was over the summer, and I Marco Polo'd you. We used this app called Marco Polo, and we send messages back and forth, video messages. And I was like, Sharon, I don't remember this. But apparently, some decks have 2 cards on purpose. The Golden Dawn chose 2 Temperance cards as a purpose of magic. You're supposed to use in the Kabbalah these 2 Temperance cards.
Oh.
So they use it in magical purposes.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
So, a lot of times, like with the pictures, you're going to see a feminine angel or some sort of powerhouse woman. So, like, you'll see in one of mine, man, she is just badass, like, reining her... Does she have reins, right, in her hands?
She has, like, a chain belt connected to a strong hawk or falcon.
Right.
And then a lion. She's got all these alchemical things surrounded in a cauldron, and the cauldron is just beaming lights to the skies. So she's like, I'm manifesting!
Yes, exactly. That's, like, one of my favorite cards. And then you see this other one where she's, like, standing... Does she have 1 foot on earth, 1 foot... Yeah, 1 foot on earth, 1 foot on water... in water, kind of like yours is.
It's a very common tarot symbol.
Yes, and yours has these great wings and a cup that's kind of overflowing, and I think mine has that too, and she's just got this divine energy emanating from her head. And so, to me, when you get the Temperance card, you're dealing with unification or like a combination of forces to help you realize what's going on in your life. She can also represent bringing balance, hence the reason why you have like 1 foot in the water, 1 foot on earth, because a lot of times, like as Pisces, we deal with, I have 1 foot in the water like constantly because of my Pisces empathic nature, but I also need to keep myself grounded on earth.
Right, and water is always a representation of other realms.
Right.
It is intuition, it is a magic, so it's a great symbol. Look at your tarot card feet. That's a very common symbol.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so she also can teach you patience and to also have a little moderation into your life. You don't want to be partying nonstop constantly. You've got to do that in moderation. You don't want to be nonstop workaholic. You've got to have some balance there. And so that's what she's representing. I like how in yours too, there's like, she's pouring water from cup to cup. The water is just flowing. And we want that fluidity in our life. We want that so badly. So that's kind of what Temperance brings. And she's also going to bring this attribution to Sagittarius and fire. So if you want to use that as well. And yeah, so I just like how there's I think I bumped the table.
No. Oh, it moved?
Oh, I thought that's what you were looking at.
No, I keep having to remind myself what it's called. It's just called Magical
Golden
Tarot.
Dawn.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I really love the artwork of your deck so much. There's just something really freeing about breaking away from the Rider-Waite rigidity to me. It's just so new seeing this flow of energy. I really highly recommend people look up the Golden Dawn Magical Tarot deck. Great artwork.
I think I've posted several pictures on our Instagram if you guys haven't seen those.
Yeah.
I had like maybe you'll see a background and it's a tarot deck, it's most likely my tarot deck.
Yes, very, very cool deck.
Yeah.
Beautiful card. I love that yours has 2. I have a different deck that had multiple cards in it. That's why when you Marco Polo'd me, I was like, oh, I have a deck that's like that. I actually have a Steven Universe tarot deck.
Oh.
And so there's like 6 cards that has 2 versions of. And it was cute because I just felt like it was almost like a bonus artwork, a bonus the chance of getting that card in a reading, and just really cool.
Yeah.
So we're going to move on to number 15, The Devil. This one's so heavy metal, like rock and roll, like... We got like a Bahamut. We got people chained next to him. I really love your artwork, man. Yours is way cooler.
Yeah, but you have a man and a woman naked over here. I'm into that.
Yeah, we got some tickle bitties. So the imagery of the devil can be both misleading and very appropriate because, again, the devil nowadays has been kind of villainized. He's evil. And people are going to think, what does this mean? Some sort of evil thing is in my life? But the devil card does not represent an actual physical evil entity or force being in your life, but a type of energy that may be at play. This indicates you are passionate, you are unstoppable, you are a palpable force of creation and power brought with animal nature that's within all of us. And it's representing a release, fun, and pleasure. That's why I see on this card, our cards are very similar, but my people are just standing there. Your chick's like dancing.
Yeah, so, she's like living it up all naked with her hair flowing around. Yeah, that's
and
me.
There's chalices on the floor, coins on the floor. It's partying. It's excess. So sometimes the devil shows up when we need fun to break away, to let go, and forget about the consequences until morning. Okay? Also, we have this devil figure, this man with horns. This is also a personification of the god Pan, my favorite god.
Yeah.
He is a god of creation. He is the god of wild lust and passion, drinking, merriment, partying, with no guilt, y'all. Have fun! Okay?
I'll look at it really quick.
It's great artwork.
I'm like, your devil doesn't have a cock, and neither does mine.
Your devil has fiery
he's
balls.
He's got a fire crotch.
Great balls of fire. He partied too much to where he's got a disease. But he's loving it. So I also think that I don't villainize devils. I worship Pan. I worship the horn god. So to me, one man's devil is another woman's god.
Right.
All right? But let's not deny the other side of this coin, of this card. Okay? The passionate lust for life can be useful unless it's taken into excess. The devil card might also be telling you that you're ignoring what is good for you. You might be disconnecting from your higher self with these vices, addiction, excess, sex, maybe with an unfit lover, alcoholism, drug abuse. Okay, stuff that feels good is not always good for you. And so I would think when you get this card in a reading, look at the other cards surrounding it. Maybe look at yourself if you're reading for yourself or for a friend and try to really break it down. Is this a card indicating the need for fun pleasure, or is this the card to let you know you've had too much freaking pleasure?
Right. One or the other.
It is one or the other. And that's why there's the symbolisms here. We've got the devil. He represents the beast within. There's chains. Both of our cards have the man and the woman on the side of the devil, chained to the devil's altar, in a sense. These chains are kind of representing the ties that bind us, burdens and addictions. And of course, we've got a horned man here, so the attribution of this card would be Capricorn.
Yeah,
I didn't get the element, but I would think fire.
Yeah.
Because I see lots of fire.
Yeah, lots of fire. I think our cards both have a lot of orange and yellow. Mine's got a little bit of blue and yours is gray. So I like that your devil has these great wings. There's a pentagram on his head. I think mine's head is a pentagram, right? It's in the shape of a pentagram.
Yeah, you got a pentagram above yours, and so do I.
Yeah.
Mine's the upside down pentagram, so giving you those Satanist vibes. And yours is the upright pentagram.
Yeah.
And he's got his third eye on yours. I love your cards. You know, the last time I got the devil card in a reading, it hurt. Sorry, I can't even say it. It hurt. And I wanted it to mean that
that you needed to let go.
We're just partying and having excess and everything's fine. But what it did mean is that it was time to move away from this abusive relationship, essentially, to move on. And so sometimes that is the truth of tarot, is that it comes out and kicks you in the fucking balls.
Yeah.
And you're not ready to receive these messages.
Right. Sometimes you're like, no, you're wrong. Like, I don't know about everybody else. I know that Sharon and I do this, but like, I'll keep a notebook. And so I write down all my cards, and then I kind of overlook at or go in depth a little bit further and a little bit further. And then I'm looking at that and I'm like, no. And I'm like, okay, yes. Yeah, that's what's happening. But no, don't call me out on my shit, man.
It's hard. It's painful. Tarot is not always easy.
Right.
Because life is not always easy.
Tarot's like that best friend that you want to shut up and not tell you the truth, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's like...
Yeah, like after that reading, I was like, fuck you, tarot, and I bought an oracle deck because oracle cards are nice, okay? If you want to just have a message of nice love, fluff, go get yourself an oracle deck.
Right.
It'll hold your hand through the darkness, while tarot will really be a mirror.
Yeah, tarot's like, see what you've got.
Yeah, so.
All right. We're both really familiar with this card, I feel like.
Hi, Tower.
It's number 16, the Tower. If you haven't ever had this card in your life,
you must be young.
Yeah. So congratulations. Basically, when you look at the Tower, you're gonna see this tower on a mountain, and people are falling out the windows, and there's lightning hitting it, and basically the tower is just being blown apart. So that tower kind of represents your life. You are the tower, and your life is falling apart. So, or maybe it will represent in the reading that your life has fallen apart. Could be past tense, like if you find it in the section where it's in the past. You know how sometimes it's past, present, future. So
yeah, that's true.
But it could also, it could be a symbol of fighting. And now it is your time to rebuild after the tower has happened. So if you see it in that past tense, if you see it in the future tense,
it's a coming.
It's a coming. It's a coming, and you have to figure out where it's coming from.
Brace yourself.
Yeah, it's basically an upheaval of your life. You could be moving, losing your job, your relationship, all of your relationships. It might not even mean your spouse. It could mean friendships. Like I know for me, I had this in a reading one time, and I literally lost all of my friends.
That's so hard.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay, but it's don't take it as a bad thing. Take it as a way that your life is regrowing. That's kind of what it symbolizes for me. It's like, yeah, all of it fell apart, but maybe once you get past that point and you're moving on, you can look back and be like, it needed to fall apart so I can get where I'm at today.
100%. Like I'm on the outer edge of recovery of the Tower card. You know?
Right.
Moving from Texas to home, it was such a necessary part of my life that wouldn't have happened had my life fallen apart. And it was so scary as the tower is crumbling. Your life is falling apart, and you feel like this person just free falling without a parachute.
Yeah.
But that is freaking life, and I'm so happy for where I am right now.
Right.
I'm so happy to be sitting across from you instead of talking to my computer screen.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
My life is better because of the tarot aspect. Not the tarot aspect,
the
tower.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's a really scary card to go through. It's not always easy to get these hard messages, but you'll be better from the hardships.
Right. So don't take it as, oh, crap. I mean, you can.
Right. I'd be like, well.
Well, you can think of it for a minute.
It's a warning, maybe?
Right. A warning. And so when you do get this card, some ways that you can deal with it would be to be like, take a look at your life if you know that this tower is coming up and be like, okay, what in my life needs to be changed? Get rid of that old way of thinking. So before, when you used to wake up, think of your old life that you had before you came to Oregon. Like, when you woke up in the morning, what were your thoughts compared to what are your thoughts now?
Yeah.
And so it's just a way to get rid of your old way of thinking, make room for new ideas and new ways of life, and try new things is basically what this tower is saying to you. It's like, yeah, everything's falling apart. There's things happening, but look, now you have this new new life, a new world.
Right. Your foundations are being broken down only so that you can rebuild new ones.
Right.
And it's a process. It's not overnight.
Right.
Conspiracy-wise, seeing our two towers here, it's very 9/11 vibes.
Oh, yeah, very much so. I think mine has serpents in it, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of serpents. So some common symbols, so it's like you're restructuring your life, you're going to have some strife, out with the old, in with the new, and work with that new. Some attributions were Mars and iron. So
that makes sense.
Ironworks going on.
Right. Okay. Woo, let's move on.
I know, number 17. Ooh, beautiful.
That's what I was thinking about your card. So we've got 17, the Star. Okay? This card is of healing, rejuvenation, youthful optimism, hope, the divine maiden aspect of femininity, rejuvenation, spirituality, reflection, release, light in the darkness, luck, good fortune, wishes, and success.
Love this card. I've never gotten this in a reading.
Really?
Yeah.
I have gotten it beginning of last year. I feel like was the last time. And this card comes in the Major Arcana right after two extremely difficult and dark cards, the Tower and the Devil. So this is such a, the healing process, the rejuvenation. We have here in both our cards and probably every card a naked blonde woman standing in water. There's pouring water. There's stars above her. It just is really serene and peaceful. Such a different look than we just had in the Tower card.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So the star acts like a beacon of hope, shining in the darkness, promising a renewal, the release of energy, and high ideals. This is a reminder of what great things we are capable of if we put our minds to think beyond this world. The realization of our highest purpose and the direction of our spiritual lives. So let me go back into these symbols. So we have the stars, and here we in America, or probably everywhere, we're always wishing on them stars. So stars represent wishes, ambitions. We have celebrities that we call stars. Stars represent guidance. We use Polaris, the North Star, to guide us north. They are a light, and they represent hope. There's also so much symbolism going on with this card with the water. Water, like we've talked about, it means so much. There's the flow, there's the life, healing, rejuvenation, spirituality, connecting to other forces and the divine. And when you see pouring water, it even builds on that whole symbolism. Pouring water will mean clearing things out, cleansing, and removing blockages. So my card has that symbolism once again of 1 foot in the water, 1 foot out. Your Star Maiden has both her feet in the water, which I find interesting.
Full in.
She's fully in. So, like we talked about, that is just kind of just showing how maybe in life you're going to have 1 foot in the spiritual world of intuition and one here grounded in reality. And this naked woman here, she kind of represents that the bare essential of you is enough. Trust yourself. And the nakedness also represents freedom, liberation. And so this card is surprisingly associated with the element of air, but also the astrological sign of Aquarius. So that's why you see,
hand in hand.
I think the pouring vase, that's like Aquarius here. So there is some physical representation.
Sure. My son said this is his card. He was telling me last night, which is funny because he is an Aquarius.
Awesome!
Yeah,
that makes sense. That's a really great card for him to have. Really good sign.
Yeah, great sign. My favorite, the moon. The moon is my favorite card. So a lot of times when you're looking at it, you're going to see this crayfish coming out of the water onto land, taking a long journey. And you're going to see two dogs on either side kind of howling up at a waxing moon. And typically there's towers on both sides as well, kind of hearkening back to the earlier cards like we were talking before. You're typically going to see a lot of water. Mine has these Egyptian gods on the towers.
Yeah, I like that. But I would say our cards are like 90% the same.
Yeah, very similar.
Just adding these Egyptian gods on your towers where mine are blank.
Right. And I think your dogs are two different colors. You have a golden one and a brown one. I think mine are both kind of jackal-like. this card kind of represents happiness on the outside, but on the inside you are not happy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's a representation of fear and anxiety that lives inside of you, but you're lying to yourself. The reason why I love this card is because it reminds me that I'm human. That a lot of times we're always putting on these fake fronts for other people when really on the inside we're struggling. So a lot of times you'll get this in a person who's hiding depression from the world. But this card should represent that eventually this unhappiness is going to create voluntary changes for the better in your life, and by listening to your intuition you can overcome these tragedies. And so for me, this symbolism of humanism and moving on is so lovely. Some common symbolism for you would be your subconscious mind is trying to tell you something about the illusions that are in your life, and that there's all these unconscious influences. So you may be walking about in your day doing one thing and you're like, why am I doing that? But your unconscious is telling you it's because you're unhappy. So you need to make some changes in your life. And you're repressing your desires, and you're creating your own demons in your life in this period. So it's trying to tell you that you need to change things, and so that you're living from the inside out rather than the outside in.
That's really added a whole new layer of information for me that I didn't know about the moon card.
Good.
So that's another way to look at this card.
Yeah. And so attribution is Pisces and water. And how do you interpret it in your reading?
Well, I didn't know that it meant anything about hidden selves or that duality of unhappiness within. Being so pagan, I'm just like, moon's great, love the moon, moon is powerful, moon gives us intuition. So I was really just kind of more leaning on my love for the moon and the water and intuition. I didn't realize the dualities that it represented. And here, just seeing this, I thought it was a lobster, but okay,
I've always thought it was
crayfish.
Too, but they said it was a crayfish.
Didn't know about a crayfish.
I was like, what?
This Mr. Lobster here, he's trying to get out of the water, and he's on the beginning of this winding journey, all the way that's like to the vanishing point of the center of this card here. And in yours, he's walking towards the sun that's like setting. And so maybe it represents like a journey through these jackals, through these dogs, through the howling beasts, and then through these towers. It's like you got to get through all that bullshit, like you were saying, in those facades. So yeah, it's just like added a whole new layer for me.
If you think, I guess when I looked at it too, I thought it was a lobster, and I was like, I might look like a tasty lobster, but I'm not. I'm just a crayfish.
Just a crayfish. That's a long way for a crayfish to travel.
Right? Tiny little legs. Hence his life.
Okay, so we're going to move on. Number 19, the Sun card.
So lovely.
Yeah, it's a very
This
happy
one's been
card.
hearkening to me lately.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I say that's all good vibes. So let's break down the Sun card. The sun, in life gives us light and heat, which is necessary for survival and growth. So also you can look at the sun as a representation of the god, sun god, a symbol of divine light and blessings. The sun is at the center of our solar system, reminding us that the spirit should be at the heart of our endeavors when we get this card. So always lead with your spirit. This is a card that represents elimination, realization, and enlightenment that comes after darkness. It is the joy and happiness and bliss that comes through self-awareness and spiritual evolution. This card also represents the state of true innocence that comes from self-awareness, which removes the need for falsehood, agendas, worry, and a return to paradise. So this is a great companion card for the moon.
Right.
It's the opposition of that meaning that you just broke down for us. And what we have here on our cards is a big bright sun high above. There are some naked children playing, being jovial here. And the children in this card really represents innocence and carefree happiness. And sometimes when we're trying to figure out where our true north is, we have to remember, what did we desire as children? What was that innocent calling that we had? A lot of us knew our callings as kids, and then it gets shrouded away by the weird things that society puts down on us and weighs us down. So go back to that childhood innocence, that playfulness. There's also a lot of garden and lush symbolism here, which kind of represents Eden, growing things, and life evolving. Your card has yellow flowers, and my card has the sunflowers. And one fun thing about sunflowers is that they move their head to follow the sun throughout the day, and they represent that optimism and that hope to brighter things. And I was able to find out that this card is also, of course, the sun, but it's also tied to the element of fire.
Nice. Love it. Next one we have is Judgment. This one's always a hard one for me. I've always felt, I was like, does this mean I'm judging myself or somebody else is judging me? I hate being judged.
Totally. Yeah, I don't get this card as much.
Right. And so a lot of you'll see this common archangel. There's usually this angel at the top of the card, and that's to represent Michael. I also read that it could represent just some other angel. But basically he's blowing a trumpet, and as he's blowing the trumpet, people should be rising from their tombs. Like in yours, you see these zombie-like people.
Yeah, they're like
raising themselves from the dead.
In floating coffins in water.
Yes.
You have one coffin in yours.
Yeah, that's supposed to. And my card, you'll see this man kind of waving his arms, or those angel wings. I don't know, but that's supposed to be you in this. So you're on this ferry boat kind of ushering to the other side. And the people are rising from their tombs, and they're ready to be judged and move on with their lives into the afterlife. Interesting that yours is zombies. I like how they have their arms out and they're just like, ugh.
I never thought of them as zombies. I didn't know that they were
great color.
I didn't know they were dead, and I didn't. But that makes sense. They're in coffins.
Yeah, they're in coffins.
Mm-hmm. Yours looks like there's only the one in the middle in the coffin, and then there's like naked people on the sides, and they look like they're just chilling in a sauna.
Yeah,
but that's obviously not what's happening.
That's not. The Judgment card is supposed to represent that something is coming to an end and it's time to make your final decisions. And you have to be the one that's judging the situation in your life and come to a determination on the matter. It's another symbolism too of making way for new beginnings. And you kind of just have to come to that decision. So it's kind of like you're looking at your life and you're like, okay, I need to choose what it is that's going on here. I need to judge my life harshly. You can also look at it as another situation to infuse divine energy into your life, and that when Michael's blowing that horn, he's like, that signifies that he's pushing divine energy into you, and your spirit is kind of descending into a different type of physical matter.
Your card is, again, really inspiring me, because behind Michael, or the angel blowing the trumpet, there's this rainbow in the sky with serpents, so like a serpent rainbow. Again, serpents are really called to work with the divine. They're a magical thing. They're not always to be looked at as like evil, so I love the use of serpents in your deck.
Sweet. The attributions for this one are going to be Pluto and fire, or spirit.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right, we made it to the end, y'all. We got one more card. We have 21, the world for me, and the universe for Wendy. So our two decks did title these differently, which we talked about is something that'll happen. But the symbolisms are pretty much on point.
Yes.
All right, so let's break this card down. The world. So we've reached the end of the Major Arcana, the end of a cycle, the completion of everything. And the world card is not just of endings, it is a card of beginnings and manifestations. For every ending, there is also a beginning. So this constant circle. The perpetual motion of the universe and the evolution of every individual soul. It's always going constantly. So this card represents the lessons that we achieve at the end of every cycle. So remember, you are enough. You have achieved greatness, joy, and triumph. When you get this card, it's also time to think not only what you can achieve for yourself, but what can you do to better the world. So let's look at our cards here. We've got symbols of a wreath, maybe. I have a wreath around mine. You just have beautiful, a circle of all the astrological signs. But if you have a wreath, that's just a reminder that this card is representing triumph. You know how, I feel like, was it in like horse races? I'd always see like you win a wreath around your neck if you won. There's also, which I didn't realize, there is a hermaphrodite in the... I just thought it was a woman. I didn't realize it was a hermaphrodite. But this symbolizes both union and synthesis of all one's aspects and resources into a single understanding. So this union here is really going on with this naked figure in the middle of the card. Let's talk more about this. Okay, so we've also got creatures in all four corners of the card.
So there should be a lion, a Taurus, like a bull.
Maybe an angel or a man.
Yep, and an eagle. I think that this man has a name. My book might have told me. Let me look and see.
Okay. So yeah, like there's just this, maybe these four guardians on the outsides of your victory. When I get this card in a reading, I always think it's like a good thing, you know, like it said, you're at the end of a cycle, you've gained all this knowledge, and you're enough going forward.
So my book says the images are the goddess Isis, crowned with a crescent and surrounded by a floating scarf, the 2 wands of positive and negative power, the 12 circles of zodiacal signs, the ring of 72 smaller circles, and the 4 cherubim in the night sky. So these are the cherubim. You haven't read the Bible, so you don't know
Only
this.
Small pieces.
So there is a section in Ecclesiastes that talks about the cherubim and this kind of 4-headed character, and one head is an eagle, one head is a lion, one head is a bull, and one head is a human.
Is it an angel?
It is an angel who came out of a ship.
Okay.
And he has 4 heads.
This is Ezekiel's?
Yeah, Ezekiel. Ecclesiastes? No, Ecclesiastes.
Because, okay, I was thinking, is this the Ezekiel's wheel thing that we talked about?
Maybe it is. Maybe I'm getting confused.
There's probably more than one
that there
weird
was an
angel.
Ecclesiastes wheel.
I hear that all angels in the Bible are pretty freaky.
Yeah.
As far as appearance.
And so this is some sort of angel that or being. They call it an angel, but I would consider it to be a being because he comes from a ship. And he has these 4 heads. So basically that's what this card is representing, these 4 heads. Or you could do earth, air, fire, water, however you want to symbolize it.
That makes sense because if we're talking about the universe or the world, you have this, goddess or hermaphrodite in the center representing combination of everything coming together. And then in this outside of the circle, outside of the world, outside of the universe, you have these angels, these aliens, whatever you want to label them as, guiding you, working with you towards victory.
Right.
Ooh.
Da-da-da-da.
Oh yeah, did I mention that the attribution is Earth and the planet Saturn?
All right, I love it.
So we got through all of the Major Arcana.
That was a big one.
That was a huge one. I want to shout out my resource today for where I got my information. I have this great book called Tarot 101, Mastering the Art of Reading the Cards by Kim Huggens. And this is the only book that I really own that actually breaks down the symbolisms and what the card means so that I can interpret it for multiple. I feel like interpretations, most books that I have just tell you it means this, but really that's only one layer of 1,000.
Right.
And so I feel like this is a really great foundation to understand your cards, and I highly recommend you checking out this book to anyone who wants to read tarot. This book will break down like the archetypes in tarot instead of just going one through whatever. It'll section all the group of women cards, the male cards, so you get that feminine energy. You learn all about that. Then you learn about the masculine energy. And this card also has like journal prompts and activities, so you can really do textbook schoolwork with this book.
That's awesome.
Highly
what
recommend.
An amazing book.
Yes.
Very cool.
We'll link it down below.
Yeah.
As always, I don't know if you guys know this, but we link all of our sources for every episode down below.
Yep. So I'll have my sources down there too. Mine just came with my book, so I'm not really... It's just the Golden Dawn Magical Tarot book. And then I did read this other one, kind of, Highlights of Tarot, by the Builders of the Adytum, which is also a group, a newer offshoot of the Golden Dawn. It's kind of a convoluted thing, but I think we talked about this before. Crowley came to America, so this is the group that he started, was the Builders of the Adytum. And so
So much to
I use
gain.
that. Yeah, so much to gain. So much information.
So much knowledge. I think we hopefully successfully gave you guys new understandings of the card, new way to look at them, some information that was helpful to you, because we did so much in one episode. We obviously didn't go as deep as you could.
Right. It was nice. It's nice to be able to do this. I feel like I learned so much just from my own cards, because I had an opportunity to look into the history of tarot, which I've never really done before. Mm-hmm. And it turned out all that information was in my tarot book, and had I picked it up and read it, I would have known more.
Yeah, this book, because the Kim Huggens book that I own, it is so in-depth and there was so much going on. I was trying to go through the whole thing, I think, last year, and I just stopped because it would take me hours to just do the homework basically on one card. But with this episode, I just said, you know what, let me just go to the basics of each card and get the basic understanding. And so I do have a better understanding today than I did yesterday.
Right. What I love about your book and the process that you just talked about is the fact that tarot wasn't really meant to be learned in a night.
No.
You know, it's a process of learning. And I feel like even I've seen, or I've had people read tarot for me before that were professionals that I actually paid to have read for me. And I'm sure that they started out here, but even they said that they keep growing and growing and growing. And it's just this arc of growth.
Right.
And that's what tarot would represent for me.
Yeah, so many layers of information, occult information that you can kind of start learning and really expanding on the meaning of every card.
Right. And so many things that you can do. Like, I've learned that you can not just do divination, but you can use them in magical purposes.
I don't know too much about that, so I would be excited to learn. Was it more just like working with that archetypal energy? Yeah,
so as I was reading about the Kabbalah, it said that you could pull out those cards, put them on, there's this chart in your book, and there was a chart in mine.
Yeah, the Tree of Life.
Tree of Life. And you would put those cards on there and use them for magic divining purposes to gain knowledge. And so one day we'll get to tap into the Kabbalah.
Yeah.
And do a lot of studying. I think this process has drawn us to that. So eventually you'll be hearing that down the road in 2020, hopefully.
Hopefully. And if you guys like this series and you want us to tackle the other parts of tarot, the minor arcana, send us a message. If we get enough requests, we'll try to squeeze that into 2020.
Yeah, absolutely. Got a good year ahead of us.
Good year. Good year, guys.
I'm really excited. So let's wrap it up.
Yes, thank you guys so much for listening. You can join us here on our podcast every Wednesday. And in the meantime, if you'd like to find more, go over to Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Cousins Coven. And you can also check out our blog, cousinscoven.home.blog, where you can find witchy words of wisdom, spells, and all of our archive podcast episodes from season 1. In the meantime, y'all, we'd love to hear from you as well. So send in any research ideas, your witchy questions, fan mail, or your paranormal experiences into cousinscoven2@gmail.com. We genuinely love to hear from you guys. So please like, subscribe, and share with all of your witchy and weirdo friends.
And may you find happiness in your heart, love for yourself, and join each other. Blessings to all.